269 deaths have been reported due to COVID-19 in the country. As per the Ministry of Health, 254,728 confirmed cases in Kenya, 247,975 are said to have recovered, and we have lost 5,328 people to COVID-19 within the confines of Kenya. To some of the stories making headlines this morning, and police turned out in force to quash a banned opposition protest in Kinshasa to demand the neutrality of the Electoral Commission, making several arrests. By early morning Monday, security forces closed off all access routes to the headquarters of the Electoral Commission in the DR Congo capital. Marcel, one of the demonstrators, said, "We are marching to say no to this Kidima office," referring to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, who did not respect the electoral process, who did not respect democracy, who did not come out of a consensus. That is why we are here. So today we will put an end to the dictatorship they are trying to install. We want a transparent electoral process, and we need a neutral person for a good election. In the country, human rights groups have come out seeking the government not to coerce Kenyans into mandatory vaccination following Health CS Mutahi Kagwe's announcement on the denial of government services by December 21st to unvaccinated Kenyans. This directive has also seen a lot of backlash from Kenyans who are now calling out the government after insinuating that it will impose the Public Health Act on the said matter if Kenyans do not adhere to the said measures.
With a vaccinated population of 8%, the tightened measures are set to increase the numbers of those vaccinated. Still, questions have been asked as to how realistic to upscale the vaccination exercise within a month, with the government aiming to vaccinate at least 10 million Kenyans by December.
Everybody seeking in-person government services should be fully vaccinated and proof of vaccination availed by December 21st, 2021. Such service will include but not limited to KRA services, education, immigration services, hospital and prison visitation, NTSA, and port services, among others.
Now after some time ati curfew imetolewa, things are back to normal, wanaanza kuambia watu lazima kuwe vaccinated ndo get government nini hizo nini za government. So to me it's so unfair na wanafaa try consider Kenyans.
Through a statement, Amnesty International said, and I quote, "It should be noted that most countries introducing mandates for public and private facilities have already reached the 60 to 70% threshold for vaccination. It is simply unrealistic for Kenya to go from 8.8% to 60% within a month."
Unaona hata saizi mimi sijavaa mask. So kusema ya kwamba ati ni lazima upigwe shindano. Hiyo shindano ni yani inatusaidia nini kwa mwili wetu? Inaweza ikawa hivi pengine ni shindano ambayo inataka kutuua sisi, ama ni shindano ambayo inataka kutuua mayai, ama namna gani?
Following that blatant comment, it is clear that a lot more sensitization and public awareness campaigns ought to be conducted across the country to increase voluntary uptake of the vaccines.
Nobody said it is mandatory. If you don't want service in the Ministry of Health, don't come. Nobody is saying that you must be vaccinated. No, absolutely not. All I am saying is that if you want to come to my office at Afya House and I've been fully vaccinated and you don't want to try the phone.
Sitakubali kupikwa dawa na mimi sio mgonjwa. Kama ni atakuingia kwa ofisi kama hakuna nini, sitaingia ofisi. Sitaenda mahali popote pa serikali. Nitaishi tu na nikae tu hivyo.
The new measures include proof of vaccination for admission into national parks, hotels, bars and restaurants. Drivers, conductors, boda operators, Pilots, air hostesses should be fully vaccinated and carry proof of vaccination. Everybody seeking in-person government services should be fully vaccinated by December 21st, 2021. Amnesty International further said, what will employers in the formal and informal sector do when their employees cannot come to work in a month's time? This proposal risks domesticating the global vaccine appetite and creating those with rights and without rights. It further risks eroding public confidence gains in the COVID-19 vaccination efforts and encourage a mushrooming of fake vaccination certificates. The ministry further said it will engage the Interfaith Council to see the way forward with some of the new measures. Helen Aura, NTV.
Well, at least 2.5 million Kenyans on the verge of starvation have reason to smile after the Chinese government donated rice worth 2.2 billion shillings to aid in mitigation efforts. Now, the rice will be distributed to all 23 drought-affected counties in the arid and semi-arid lands. Oko Kusa with more.
While receiving the first batch of the seventh and final consignment of the humanitarian rice donated by the government of China, the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Gender, Senior Citizens Affairs and Special Programs, Margaret Kobia, said the rice will go a long way in averting a looming crisis.
I'm glad to also note that the final consignments consisting of about 890 metric tons, which is about 17,850 kilogram bags, will be arriving in the country by the end of this week.
The CS noted that the donation will mainly be distributed to schools in the 23 arid and semi-arid lands counties to ensure students' retention during the dry spell.
We will make sure the food that has come from China is not going just to be in the depot, but is going to be distributed in 23 counties, and we ensure that it's timely and efficient through the network of the Ministry of Interior.
The Chinese government confirmed delivering 945 metric tons of rice to Kenya as part of the seventh consignment.
China is willing to strengthen its cooperation with Kenya in various spheres and provide more aid and to help Kenya improve people's lives and promote social and economic development.
At least 10 counties have been classified under the drought alarm phase, and they include Garissa, Isiolo, Kilifi, Kitui, Lamu, Mandera, Marsabit, Tana River, Turkana, and Wajir. Ouko Kusa, NTV.
Further afield and still on the COVID-19 highlight, the Central African Republic has so far vaccinated only 7% of its population against COVID-19. Now, for the health authorities of this vast country, which is the second least developed in the world, according to the UN, and has been in a civil war since 2013, the challenge is as much as to obtain the vaccine as to convince people of its necessity. According to Prince, who has been vaccinated, he says, I agreed to come and get vaccinated because the vaccine is very important and it is the best way to protect yourself against COVID-19. This disease frightened people, so the best way to protect yourself is to get vaccinated. Marie Chantal, also vaccinated, says, well, I don't think we have anything here, nor reported COVID-19 cases, at least according to her. But she says it is important that we were called to come here and I came to get vaccinated either way. To something that's actually fitting into our conversation of the day, Friday, November 19th, that came and went, was actually the International Men's Day. This day is meant to recognize and celebrate the achievements of men across various spheres of life, but many men seem to be either unaware of the day or discontent with the attention it gets, especially in light of the fanfare and demands that come with International Women's Day. Now, this and the fact that it shares a day with the International Toilet Day. we asked men if they had received any gift on this day, and this is what they had to say.
I would like to appreciate all the responsible dads out there, and also appreciate myself. I've not received anything, even a gift, but we thank God for the gift of life.
I actually remembered it right now after I heard people talking about it, so I haven't received anything, but I would want to appreciate every dad out there who is responsible and are working hard.
Sisi kama wanaume wa Afrika tulikuwa tunasikia kwamba hapo tumefinyika. Kwa hiyo sisi siku ya leo hata kama hakuna cha kufurahia tunashukuru kwa kuwa hai.
Sijapata zawadi cause hii siku nikana kwamba ijulikani. Ingekuwa inajulikana leo ningepata zawadi na ningefurahia kana kwamba na mimi ni mwanaume mwenye anajulikana kuwa anaishi Kenya na mwanaume amezaliwa Kenya.
Vitu za wanaume mingi huendanga kama ni silent. That is why hii siku yetu hata itambuliki sana. Juu ingekuwa ni hizi siku zingine za kina mama, hizo hata ungeona messages huwa zinatembea.
Those are the opinions of the men about the just concluded Men's Day. This was on Friday. It came and went, and there wasn't much fanfare. And this has been characteristic of many years that have come and gone. So why exactly does this day go unnoticed? You've had some of the men say why, but I'd like to understand from those that are with me in studio, and also even as we get to celebrate these men, because I believe they deserve a pat on the back because they are part and parcel of our society. And I've got gentleman David Oduno, who is a mentor and life coach at the Navigators. Thank you for your time. Also joined by Calvin Odek, who is the founder of Men Let's Talk. And we're also joined by Mike Langat, who is a student and also co-founder of Pine Kazi. Did I pronounce it well? Excellent. Thank you all for being part of this conversation. And we have a lady part of this panel because, again, men are living in a world where women are in. And her name is Faith Nashipai. She is the founder and executive director of Thriving Families Kenya, a very vocal ambassador for the welfare of men and boys, gender equality, and herself a trained counselor. So clearly you are in good company. Gentlemen, thank you for making time. And just listening to fellow Kenyans talk about the National or International Men's Day. I'll start off with you, David. Did you even know it exists? Was it a special day for you?
Yes, it was a special day for me. I knew it existed. It worked for me because I am a mentor of men. I disciple men, if you use a term, a religious term. So I used it and I introduced it in our church, and I encouraged everybody to say something nice about somebody else. And I got the cue from my friend, Mr. Odek. Yeah, he sent me a post that said, take a photo of a guy, post it in your group and say something positive about them. And in our church, it went viral. Everybody said something nice about someone on that day. So we made use of it. Yeah, and of course, it's unfair because I work with men, so I know the days that come and go. Yes.
Okay, but that's encouraging to hear that there was a positive reaction.
It was very positive. Yes.
Okay, yes. So Kevin, I know you have been pushing this agenda for a while now. First of all, ulikumbukwa.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. But I think it's Friday. So that whole week I was trying to push that agenda for let's celebrate men. And so on Sunday went to church, Good Shepherd, and asked guys, hey, did you celebrate someone? They're like, eh? It happened. There was a day like this. I was like, guys, the same day I asked again. I kept on asking fellow bikers because we ride together. I asked the lady bikers, did you celebrate someone this week? They're like, yeah, I used the poster that everyone was sharing. I'm like, you didn't make it personal. So I think it's, for me, it was a bit sad that this is a day that you get to celebrate a man and show them their worth. It was just like any other day that passed.
Okay, that is included in the World Toilet Day too, as men are really complaining about this. But tell me this, I know you've been running that campaign. What was the reaction?
the reaction is, I think men are getting into the space where they want to celebrate each other. But this other side, they're still trying to figure out what words are the right ones to say. Do I use this? Do I use this? Will it work? So people are still confused and trying to figure out because we've been trying to push it, but it's like it's something that is still new to people. Yes.
Okay, when you say this other side that is still trying to figure out what to say or do, are we talking about the females?
Especially on that day, yes.
On this particular day. I see how you're being very diplomatic about this. Okay, so for Mike, I wonder how the day was for you, because hearing from some of the men, they didn't even know the day exists.
I think I knew the day existed, but it was just any other normal day. Woke up, did my routine, same thing I did on Thursday, I did on Friday, and the day ended. I just got a few texts from friends, Happy Men's Day, on their statuses. So it's not even directed to me. Yeah. So yeah, that was just it.
Okay, and is this the first time perhaps you were more cognizant about it because you were seeing the status updates and wondering, okay, what's the big deal?
Yeah, I feel like this year it was posted more than other previous years.
And is it maybe because you were in circles where people were intentionally doing it?
Yes, I think so too.
Aha. Okay, let me hear from the lady amongst us. Faith, we spoke yesterday. You were in Kajiado and you were actually celebrating the International Men's Day with the men in that region. How did that go?
It was awesome. It was awesome, Gladys. Thanks for having me. We had a wonderful community event where we celebrated men in Kajiado County, and men were really happy. They were excited. We had UNFPA, the country director, coming in, and he was very instrumental and very vocal about men celebrating themselves, men taking care of themselves, men looking at their own interests, even as they look at the society.
And it's interesting.
So we had a wonderful event.
It's interesting to hear that there was such great reception, considering that you would say this is one of the regions where culture holds strong. It's a patriarchal society, and such things like Christmas, they come and go.
Yes, yes. Kenya is actually, the whole of Africa is highly patriarchal, and hardly do we celebrate men. We see men as ATMs. We see them as people with roles, and they have to present themselves as leaders and as people, like they're hard. They're hard. We have hardened men. Socialization has taught us that men are just hard people and they're just there to provide and to play roles. They're not there to be loved. They're not there to be appreciated. They're not there to be taken as human beings. But my message is men are human.
To the point, I hear an amen in studio. So tell me this, Faith. You are in this space and you're very vocal about the support that needs to be given to men. Again, tell me, what pushed you to this space?
Gladys, I'm a daughter of a father. Unfortunately, my father left us about 3 years ago posthumously. I celebrate him because I am a total sum of what my father did to me and what he built in me in a big way. I am also a mother of 3 wonderful sons. Between me and the father, we are raising 3 wonderful young men. And my life is surrounded by men. My life is surrounded by men. I am working in an organization where we promote issues of men, the gender equality. In the gender equality discourse, I don't look at women, I look at men. Much as I'm a woman, I look at men. I partner with the State Department of Gender, and my core mandate is to bring men in the gender equation. So for me, I look at men inclusivity in gender. I look at the issues of men, the issues that men are going through. When people talk about gender-based violence, like next week we'll be talking about gender-based violence, I don't look at gender-based violence from the victim who's a woman. I look at gender-based violence from the perpetrator. I am highly promotive and preventive in my approaches. So for me, I will look at the prevention. I will look at promoting quality, healthy families so that we can have better societies. I will look at who is this man in this whole equation and how do we celebrate him? How do we make him become better? How does he become the best version of himself? That's what we look at.
Okay, wanaume mnamtetezi kweli hapo. So that one we have made very clear. But you know, some of the things that Faith is mentioning would think they go without saying. All right. And perhaps something happened along the way where now we are talking about we need to protect the man, we need to empower the man. So let's break this down by just defining who is a man. I'll start with Kevin. Define a man.
A man is just like any other person. He's a human being who deserves love, care, and to be appreciated at all times. Not the way we've known it, where a man is supposed to provide throughout the ATM that has just been mentioned. But we also people who have feelings, who have emotional side, and that also need to be heard.
So are we saying perhaps we confuse the definition of a man and the role of a man? Oduno?
Yeah, that can be confused. But Gladys, if we go back to the creation of man, when God created man, when he made the man Adam, where was Eve? Eve came later from the man. So it is a partnership. So the only distinction now, when you distinguish a man from a woman for that matter, I would say a man is the male gender of the human race. And then I say who provides and protects. Because the woman was brought in as a helpmeet for the man. So it's a partnership. Only that men have a role, women have a role. But it's important to realize that a man is just like Kelvin has said, somebody who is just like a woman, but he has slightly but different roles. If we look at it that way and realize that it's a partnership, I think we are going to be solving many problems.
Okay, let me hear from Mike. You're younger than everyone else here. When you hear or you think about a man, what role should he play?
We've been raised to know that, as Kelvin said, men are providers. Though I think that's there's a stereotype about it, because there's so many things that men do and women do. But if we're to go down to roles of men, I think we're just we are leaders, we are guiders. Like we're meant to mentor people or the other gender into doing what they can't do, or rather just for us to coexist together.
Okay, so when you think about Mike, every morning when you wake up, what is your purpose and objective? As a guy, don't speak for the rest, as you.
As me, I want to build my future. So every day when I wake up, I think I got goals I got dreams. So I need to work to achieve my goals and live my dream.
And do you ever feel certain pressures to do certain things just because you are the male gender?
Yes. For example, when I'm out with my friends, they expect us as the guys to be the ones to pay the bills, to be the ones to ensure that they're comfortable. We pay the Ubers. So I feel like we're being pressured into doing something that we can both agree to do.
Okay, now Kevin, when you just think about that, you mentioned the ATM mentality in as far as men is concerned, which now is a translation of what the good book says. He is the provider, he is the high priest of the home. What are these pressure points that you face on a daily?
I think everyone is looking up on you and they're saying, there are things you need to do. Like, for example, when you need to make decisions in terms of, even when it comes to food, where are we going for dinner? I'm like, all of us can agree and say, this is where we're going. There are things like, they're just things that we can do together, but they've been made as if I have to do it by myself or other men have to do it. Like, this is what you need to do, then there's us, okay? But I don't think that's that's how it should look like. I think we are meant to work together, that even when it comes to paying Uber, someone can suggest and say, no, I got it. That even us, I'd like to be paid for dinner. My wife does that, but I'd love to be paid for. That I'm not the only one thinking, if before we go for dinner, do I have enough money? But she's like, no, don't worry, I got it. I know as much as I am supposed to be leading, but she also has a part to play. Okay, so, and I would feel better if these things, I don't know, when we get into a matatu, she says,
you'll take care of it. Okay.
It will even make me feel, there's someone.
Okay, now you are perhaps an exception, because then again, we are living in a world where the women would say it's a battle of the egos. You want to do this for the guy, but he comes out for, unasema sijatosha mboga. You see, so where do you draw the line, David?
You know, the way I look at it is that, well, I see the age difference between Mike and Kelvin and myself.
Yes.
And like you introduced me, I'm a mentor. But the pressure points I get is that of being a role model. That for me is a pressure point. I am a grandfather. I have 4 wonderful granddaughters. And I think to myself, what can I do so that these people have a proper understanding of who a man is, what a man is supposed to do. So for me, the pressure points are, what legacy am I leaving behind? Am I leaving a legacy of a provider, a protector, a lover, an emotional support?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I've reached right now. And it gives me great joy whenever I mentor somebody and I see them taking off and going beyond me. I love that. Yeah, so for me, my pressure point is, what am I leaving behind? You know, the banana plant, once it's produced, chopped off, and another one grows up.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, these ones that are coming up, are they going to have the DNA that I have?
Good question. And I love that kind of mentality, because we need to bring up these men that these women are looking out for. And we'll even talk more about that in a moment. So remember, the question of the day to you is, which man or men in your life would you like to celebrate and why? We're giving you that opportunity. Yes, the International Men's Day passed, but we are making time today to have this conversation and understand why this day just comes and goes every year. So some of the feedback this morning. Kabiru Muraya says, Sam Kiril has been of help to me both mentally, financially, and many more, to mention the most important. He has given me a reason to hope and have faith. A great big brother and a wise man of God. God bless you, Sam. Thank you, Kabiru, for sharing. And kudos to Sam. Wycliffe Zablon says, my late dad, Zablon Mekubo Kengere, my late in-law, Griffin Ombaso Kenyanya, continue resting in peace, legends. Wycliffe, thank you for sharing. And the last one here for now, Obi Baraka, who says, because I have many fathers, I celebrate all of them. Now, let's make a note here that all of those 3 feedback are actually from men, eh? So ladies, where are you? You're living in a world where men are part and parcel of your life. Talk to me. Which man or man in your life would you like to celebrate and why? And if for you the reason is you have none to celebrate, tell us why too. Would like to understand. Faith, let me bring you into this conversation, even as you've heard the men describe or define a man and the role of men in society and the pressure points therein. What have you seen in your line of duty? Because some of these things start as young as Kevin was saying, as young as, or rather Mike was saying, as young as he is.
There are so many ways of looking at the man today. And first, just to echo, how do I define a man? A man is the epitome of God's image and likeness on earth. And God is not just a provider and protector. He's also a lover. He's also a disciplinarian. He's also a caregiver. So when we look at the man not just as someone whom we're going to take from, but as someone whom we're going to share a moment or a life with. Then I also look at the issues of society and the major challenges that we are having today. And I want to talk about marriages specifically. Why? Because the many issues that we are dealing with, and I have come across men from all walks of life. I will get into an Uber and a man just starts talking about his challenges. One is suicidal and you're there and you have to support. Now that becomes pro bono. Then you also sit somewhere and someone approaches you and starts talking to you and you realize that this is a very senior person. But the problem is he's broken inside. Why? Because when he goes home, when he's in his office, he's at his best element. He's a very good leader. He's doing all things and the glory is there. But when he gets to his house, he's crushed by the person who's supposed to be supporting him, and that's the wife. So there is a way that we look at our men in the house that needs to change as women. I say they advocate for the rights of men. So I will say with confidence that let us extend some grace. Let us be gracious to each other as we relate in our marriages. The issue of men right now and not being able to provide, that is a reality. We have a challenge with our economy, yes. Many men have lost their livelihoods. Jobs, businesses have gone under. And you realize that there are so many men who call to me and they tell me, I've reached my end. I feel like committing suicide. I feel like dying by suicide because I'm being thrown out of my house by my wife. And I need my children. We are having this whole issue of father and taking care of children. And men are providing for children that they are not there to take care of. Who told women that they are the only ones who have emotional connection to children? Who confirmed that it is only women who are supposed to take care of children? We have men who are single fathers, but they do an exemplary job in taking care of their children. I think the emotional being of a man is highly ignored in our society. Again, at family level, the way we treat our sons, the way we treat our boys in the family, and the discrimination at the family level is abhorrent in our society. I think we need to look at the boy as a child first, and as a human being, because this boy is the man in waiting. How we treat the boy when he's young is the same thing that he's going to treat others when he grows old. So let us treat our young men, our small sons, as human beings. Let us allow them to express themselves. Teach them the words. Teach them to put words into their feelings and their emotions. Not tell them, don't cry, men don't cry. No. Allow the man to cry. Allow the boy to express himself. Allow him to talk about his issues. And then along the way, he will learn how to say that this is too much, I need help here. We have to train our sons. And we have to train our men how to express themselves.
Very well said. And you've touched on various issues that men have to face today. And clearly socialization plays a huge role here. Now, men, let's break this down. When did the rain start beating us, especially when it came to the traditional role of men? When did that change? Or when did we say, okay, fine, this is what the men do and this is what the women do? Let me start with David.
Yes, let me jump on that. The rain began beating us now globally. Let me go way back to the Industrial Revolution in the end of the beginning of the 18th century, when machines made life easier. Yeah, it meant that a man doesn't have to do everything. The machine can work for the woman. Then, fast track that, came the rain started beating even more during the world wars. Who goes to war? The men. What happens in the war? People die, right? So what happened? In the homes were left with ladies who are figuring out, so what do? I've got these kids I need to raise. So they had to think of what to do, how to survive, how to bring up these children. And that is when the wave came. Number 3 came the feminist movement. Great movement. The girl child movement. Women needed to get their rights sorted out. Again, it brought another wave. So with that came the mixing up of the role of a man, yeah? And that's when the rain began beating. I like what Faith has said there, that a man is also an emotional being. And those emotions, many, many times, have been suppressed. There's a guy who was being interviewed a while back, and he was saying, wanaume vitu mingi zinapita na sisi hatujui. Now that is a wrong mentality. It's because a man has, in his mind, realized the stereotype, produce, protect, produce, protect, and that's it, without lifting the head up to see what the world is doing. And that to me seems to be where the rain began beating us, Gladys. I think it started way back. And the number 4 thing I see is the rapid change in the world. Things are changing so fast. Of course, notwithstanding the thing of COVID, things have changed. And the changes have come to whereby Kevin was talking about a woman paying for a meal, a woman doing this. In the Maasai culture, the woman thatches the house when it's leaking. In the culture where I come from, if a woman is seen on a roof, that's a taboo, you know. So those roles have been mixed up. Kids don't speak their languages anymore. And I think the rain began beating us in those series of events, to where we have reached now. And Men are committing suicide because they cannot provide. Men are committing suicide because they cannot understand what they're supposed to do. So I feel that's where the rain began beating us.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Kevin, you're very passionate, especially about the mental health space when it comes to supporting the men. And Faith alluded to the fact that men have so much pent up inside. That's why they're making the statistics, especially when it comes to death by suicide, amongst other vices in society. So my question is, as much as there are pressure points, would like to see equality, but then again, there's a pressure that the man feels. How do you balance this out? How do we get to know how to help you?
I think it starts by creating a safe space. That's being in your house, like even because you're there to be as a team. Let's start with the family setting where the wife is involved. When you create that safe space, even for the man to talk and to be open, not that when they say, hey, kuna mahali, kuna pesa, kuna loan inanisumbua, you're just like, nani alikwambia uchukue loan? You know, but just making a place where this man feels safe, that one, they can start, because the closest person they need to share it with is the wife who's at home. So if that space is not safe for them, they'd go somewhere else. And I think the idea I have, or we've been trying to move around, is creating a safe space where a man can come and share and say, you know what, I'm struggling financially. My house is about to be cleaned by auctioneers who are walking in, and we're not there to look at you and be like, wow, but we're here to say, how can we support?
Kevin, let me ask you this. You as Kevin,
yes.
Why you taught to be that vulnerable to a woman?
I wasn't taught. And it's sad that was not there, because I saw my dad doing things by himself. The only time it would come out is when he found a solution to it. And I told myself, I wouldn't want to be in such a space where I'm not vulnerable with my wife, that I'm dying on the inside, because it keeps on eating you from the inside, and then it explodes and becomes something that you cannot even contain anymore, because you kept it and you were like, it will take time, I'll sort it out, because that's what men are meant to do. They think they're supposed to sort it out by themselves. So me not seeing that from my dad, I was like, there's something different. When you start sharing things, you become even lighter, not this, but
not melanin, yeah.
but you become lighter. There's a burden you relieve of yourself, because you're sharing things with your spouse, with the people around you, and they're there not to judge, but to hear you out and find a solution together. Yes.
Okay, so Mike, I'm sure you're dating or have dated. Who are you in a relationship? Are you this guy who's vulnerable to the chick, open to, sharing responsibilities? Who are you?
I'm that guy who talks out his feelings. If I feel disappointed in something, I'll tell you, I didn't like how you did this and this is how we can change it. I enjoyed today because this and this happened, so I would talk out my feelings.
Has that been used against you?
Yes, I wanted to add on that as soon as he said it. For example, there's this time we were hanging out with my friends. So then one of us didn't have money to go out that day, and we were just going out for a picnic. We were just chucking just 1,000 bob, and he didn't have it. So he didn't come that day. So the next time we planned such an event, they were like, hey, don't call so-and-so, because he is usually broke, so there's no point of him coming.
Oh, wow.
And that really disappointed me. I was at the point of almost paying for him. But I'm also not at a place where I can just be paying stuff for people just because I can't afford it.
Did you ever follow up with him to understand what the issue was and how that made him feel?
Yeah. When I talked to him, he said it's not every time he can have the money to pay, but he really felt bad that he wasn't called the second time. I don't know whether he could or could not afford the second time, but I really felt bad, and he also felt bad that he couldn't come that day.
Okay, and David, the reason I'm asking this is because, first of all, clearly men do not know how to be vulnerable. It's an intentional thing you learn if you want to get over it, but a majority have a problem or trouble being vulnerable. So how do you break through this?
Wow, good question. Men, I don't know whether this is innate or whether this is learned, men tend to bottle up. And that bottling up seems to be the problem. Because then the mom is saying, why are you so quiet? Si useme, ni kitu gani? And the man is drawing figures with his feet there. Because we have bottled up, this seems to then not allow us to be vulnerable. But I like what Mike has said, and I thank God for the kind of person he is. He speaks. So one way to get men to speak, and Kelvin does this a lot, is through an activity that will get men to relax, then get them to talk. Like for biking, for example, we talk. Go for a picnic, like you guys have gone for a picnic, and talk. But I think a lot of churches, let me go in that direction, have these activities for men, but they don't get them to talk. They have nyama choma, they have a night out with the boys, bring your sons, but they don't talk. I think there are some churches that have done a fantastic job. There's what's the church? Pastor Luke has this church on University Way, Nairobi Chapel, University Way. They've done a fantastic job. Kilelesho Community Chapel with Pastor David, they have done a fantastic job in getting men to have an activity and to talk. So, in as much as men have come up with that stereotype that they have grown up with, we need to figure out how to get men to talk. Another way of getting men to talk is getting people to be in study groups where you are talking about a topic in smaller groups, getting men to pair up and talk and do something together. And that is critical. A friend called me the other day. He's in Kampala, and they're also doing some activities with men. And do you know they now have, you know how you have mothers union?
Yes.
They now have a fathers union in ACK Kampala Church. They have a fathers union. So I asked him, so what do you do in a fathers union? Well, we are trying to get men to talk. And getting men to talk, for me, Gladys, is the key. If we can get men to talk, to open up, I think we will begin to sort out the issue of men's emotional being being brought up to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Faith, as I had questioned Mike about being, his vulnerability being used against him, I remember you mentioning that this also happens even for adults, and especially during marriage. Now, the ladies have been said, and it has been seen over time, that they prefer the bad boy. The guy who kind of keeps the adrenaline running, so to speak, as opposed to the Mikes of this world who is nice, sweet, vulnerable, and just wants to be a human being. Now, how do we balance this out? Because it kind of feels like a setup for the boy child.
The reality, Gladys, is that the types of Mike are also getting married, or they are married. So there is space for everyone in matters to do with relationship and actually in life. There are ladies who prefer men who are straightforward, forthright, and good. There are other ladies who prefer the opposite of that. That said, yes, the boy child or the man is having a challenge right now. And mainly to go back to where the rain started beating men, the women have been empowered. And yes, we have empowered the woman very well. And we are still empowering her, and she needs that empowerment, the girl child and the woman. However, we left the man in the patriarchal system. We left the man in traditions. We locked him up in not talking to him, not allowing him to understand how to change with seasons. So whereas the woman is highly dynamic, the man is trying to make up his life even today. And that is the challenge that we're having in many relationships in the world, not just in Kenya, but in the world. Because we never empowered, we never talked to the man when we were talking to the woman. Mm-hmm. So you find that in our counseling rooms, we'll find young men, the likes of Mike, who are saying, I am educated, I am a whole engineer, but I don't know how to deal with an empowered woman. That is the major question right now in young relationships.
I see.
Back to you, Gladys. I hope I have responded.
All right. Yes, you have, and put across quite a pertinent point here. Kelvin, let me hear this from you. Yes, there's empowerment. It's a good thing for both genders. But what are some of these critical roles, perhaps, that men play that should not be replaced, despite all the empowerment we hear today?
The role of a father, which is very key, because the the head being leaders in their homes, because I think even if the ladies are being empowered out here, because I think boy child, let me go back to this. The moment they said let's empower the girl child, they forgot about the boy child. And the boy child's responsibility, even at home where he was supposed to lead even in the house, was forgotten. Okay, so I think we need to go back to the basic where he's the father, he's the leader of the family, and he needs to be respected and loved at the same time. Yes.
Okay, David, why did we feel the need, now that you have a bit of history, why did we feel the need to empower the girl child in the first place? Because it seems that there was a problem in the first place, and then when we got it right, it overtook the problem and now became a problem for the boy child.
Yeah, like I said earlier on, the pendulum swung this way to the girl child, and because of the feminist movement, they were crying out, help, men, help, we are dying out here. We are not seen, we are segregated against. So, okay, let's empower this girl child to drop the boy child, and it swung this way. But I'm more interested in the question you asked about the critical roles. Maybe they are related. One, a critical role of a man is to be a father. A woman cannot be a father. A man cannot be a mother. So fatherhood is critical. Why is it even more critical? Because boys, there are certain things that boys will only learn from fathers, from men. That is very important. However, there are certain things that girls will only learn from their father. So it's equally important. I usually tell the young men I mentor, say, if you're going to date a girl, find out how they relate with their dad. That is a good place to start. Yeah? Because then you know that they're emotionally balanced. So that is number one. Number two, I think the role, a critical role also, is a man must learn how to be a partner with a woman. It's very important. How do I work with women? I think Faith put it very well, that men have been put in a man box. There is this debate about a man box, where you've been boxed in, you're supposed to be this and the other. If we can learn how to partner with the women, how to love them, how to serve them, how to give to them, I think that's another critical role, because who else is going to give to the woman if it's not the man, of the two genders? And the last one that I see here is to provide leadership in a society. The family unit is the smallest unit of a society, but guess who leads a family unit? It's supposed to be the man. So I think that providing leadership, role modeling in a society is another critical role that a man should play.
Now, we are about to take a short break here on Your World. And remember, the question of the day to you is, which man or man in your life would you like to celebrate? And tell us why. That hashtag is new normal. And if you don't think they're worth celebrating, tell us why also. Because we're trying to figure out why we got to a point where this day comes and goes. And yet, on the International Women's Day, it's a huge fanfare around the women. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja. Today, we are celebrating the men, being intentional about it, because there's been a lot of conversation about the International Men's Day and why it comes and goes every year. And for some reason, even the state, the countries themselves remember the International Toilet Day more than these men. So why? How did we get here, and yet we make such a big deal about any day that is associated to the girl or to the women? That's what we're trying to figure out here, and also understand from the men how they experience the world. David Oduno, mentor and life coach navigators with me, Calvin Odek, Men Let's Talk, and Mike Lagat, who is a student and co-founder of Pine Kazi. And of course, we have Mtetezi Mwenyewe, Faith Nashipai, founder and executive director, Thriving Families Kenya. You've become very popular amongst the men folk, even as you speak on behalf of their rights. And there's somebody who is actually, Janet, she says, please, can we talk about this bad boy syndrome? Where did it come from? Let me understand from Mike. When I see, even with my son today, when he falls, and has a scar, he's been told don't cry. He's been told a scar makes you popular and the girls like you. I'm sure you've had this before when you were growing up. How has that translated to how you translate that in your adulthood?
I feel like there's a lot of pressure on us to be the better person. We are raised to be rocks. We don't get hurt, we don't show any emotion. We're raised to be the supporting stool for the whole family. And I feel like that's not right, because sometimes we hurt and sometimes we have feelings that make us uncomfortable, but we keep quiet about it. And in the end, that is what raises the topic of suicide that we'll talk about later.
So that is what you think, it starts from that boy who's told, do not cry when you get hurt.
Yeah.
But then again, there is the fact that the scars you were told growing up will make you popular amongst the girls when you're humundu strong. How did that translate?
I don't think I ever believed that at any point, because I like my body so much that when I have a scar somewhere, I want to put a band-aid on it and feel better. I don't want to be inflicted pain. I don't want to look like someone I'm not.
So upendi uchungu?
I spendi uchungu.
Okay. All right. Now, Kevin, let's be real here. You grew up at a different time. Scars give you marks. How has that translated?
I think growing up, grew up inside of Eastlands, and where falling, when you fell, people looked at you, they gave you respect, okay? So I even have one scar, because I was trying to some very silly things. But you could see how people, you're popular around people. They're like, yeah, you're that dude, eh? There's even a way you put your face when you walk into a class, people know, this is the guy. But later I realized all this doesn't make you the person you need to be. Because you're not being true to yourself. You're trying to be someone you're not. But when you're not true to yourself, what will happen is that one day, the real you is going to come out. And people will see the rough edges, the different things, and they'll start seeing now the real person. They started seeing the real Kelvin, which changed. So I discovered all these were lies that were put there just to even our dads, because even when they walk in the house, they are Simbas. Okay? So when they walk in, they sit down, everyone disappears. You get, and you're like, even me, that's how I want to be. But you realize there's a disconnect. Even when you get into, you start having a family, your children, there's a disconnect between you and your children, because they stop looking at you like a dad, like you're this person who, when you walk in, you're dictator. They have to disappear. And I told myself, that's not what I would want to be at the end of the day. I want to be someone who, when I walk in, I'm bubbly, people are enjoying my real self. We can make as much noise as we can in the house. And because that's me.
So you don't have to be big and scary.
Yeah.
Okay, David, the reason why I'm asking this is because it translates both ways. What the boy grows up thinking about the scars and all these accidents that they are told, mwanaume ni uchungu. Then again, the girl grows up looking for a guy who looks exactly like that. To her, that he is the definition of a real man.
Correct.
Now there's a crisis. How do we handle that, or how do we undo that?
That is a serious crisis. And the genesis of that crisis is both cultural and societal and also media. Because the culture or media of the society paints a man as this guy, Muhad, with all these scars and, smelly and well, that's stretching it a bit, but at least, this is a guy, a tough guy. Is that the Rambo type of person that we saw in a movie? Is that the kind of person who I've always been taught to be? But the reason why that is a problem, and I liked what Mike said there, is because this person that you're idolizing also has feelings. He also has aspirations. He also has shortcomings. He also has desires. Who is going to address these? How are these going to be addressed? So I think in as much as there are the girls who want that kind of a tough guy, there are these other type of ladies who are looking for their dads in a man. Or they are looking for somebody who is cuddly and lovable. I mean, there are many like that, yeah? But I think it's important for us to realize that, okay, let me tell you one other place that has come from. If you think with me for a moment, if you walk down the streets right now and you look at a mannequin is a particular type of person. So you think, yeah, six-pack and the rest. So you think, hey, if I buy this vest, I'll also have a six-pack.
You look like that.
I'll also look like this, yeah? So those mannequins are also contributing towards what the culture thinks somebody should be. In fact, there was a meme that was going around of a mannequin that had a pot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a kitambi.
Yeah.
And somebody was saying, finally, they've gotten to us. Exactly. So the thing we need to do is to just be ourselves. What kind of man do you like? What kind of woman do you like? Because there's enough room for all types. But the problem comes when we are not being who we are supposed to be. And like Kelvin said, then one day when we portray who we are, somebody might not like it. People will be scattering all over the place. When did you change? So it is important that we realize that men need to learn to be themselves and to express themselves. I find that that to me is key.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, Faith, this sounds like something that needs to be undone, as you had mentioned, right from when they are children. You're bringing up 3 sons. What are you teaching them about such matters? Because these boys, as you mentioned, are the boyfriends and friends and husbands and fathers of the future.
Wow, that's a nice one. Talking about my family. Now, I'm training my sons to be sensitive men, and I'm training my sons to be responsive men, and I'm training my sons to be people who seek out for their own personal development. What do I mean by this? Self-awareness is very critical to any human being in life. If you do not know yourself, people will trample over you. Others will take advantage of you. You will always see like you're being handed the back side of the spoon instead of being handed the right side of the spoon. So it is important that people understand themselves. They know that this is who I am. This is what I believe in. This is how I react to situations. This is how some things affect me. And this is how I'm supposed to be responsive to them. That is very critical. And that is what I am training my sons. Because as they grow up, they will become people who have to associate with others. Human beings are relational. And I look at my sons not just as boys, but I look at them as human beings. What would I want from a human being? And that is what I concentrate on raising or developing in them. If the society is not working for the boy, then I will work for my son right now. And I will prepare him for a society that he has to be able to speak up for himself. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's where I find myself in. And many mothers who are mothers of sons or fathers who are fathers of sons, we find ourselves in a situation where we have to train our children or our sons to become the best version of themselves, but at the same time, teach them how to speak up about their issues and teach them how to speak up about the inequalities in the societies, which should not have been in the beginning. Because if we were to look at the society and look at this gender equality agenda in the right way and normalize it from the word go, we wouldn't be talking about boy child today. We would be saying that, yes, we are supporting one another and we are partnering as we have been told. Important to my sons is that, or to me, as far as my sons are concerned, is that I release the best of the best into the world. I don't look at them as just men. I look at them as the next generation. So for me, if my sons can be coded well, and I keep saying, code well, code well. If we can code our children in the right way, where they look at society as a balanced equation, where they look at society and they see themselves as very important individuals in that society. And they look at society as though they are the ones to carry on to the next generation. Then we are saying that we are doing the right thing. Unfortunately for us parents, our test comes when our children become and their parents themselves. That's when now we start seeing our results of parenting.
And speaking about coding, perhaps that can shed light to this aspect, because today there are more single mothers than there has ever been before. Now, I'm sure, Mike, yourself, you have a couple of friends who are from single mothers, right? Yeah. When you talk to these boys, what do they say? What do they crave for in such a household?
I feel like they they need, they lack the, I feel like, since they do not have fathers, they have more characteristics from their mothers. For example, they see their moms as their role models.
Yes.
They've seen their moms as their fathers and their mothers at the same time. So they are more emotionally available, for example, and they are less, I don't know how to put this, but
just say it as it is.
Or
say it as it is.
I feel like they're just more aggressive. Kidogo tu though.
Do you think it's overcompensating for something that is missing?
That's what I'm trying not to say.
You have to be very, very, very candid about these things because that's what we're trying to unpack today. Okay, and when you think about what Faith just said, you are being coded, you've grown up a certain way and perhaps being shown that life or family looks a certain way.
Yeah.
But we are living in a reality where a lot of these single mothers are not single by choice.
Yes.
Somebody upped and left both the mother and the children. What do you think about that?
I think it's not their fault. Like the way they've been raised, everything they think, it's not their fault. It comes down from where they came from.
Okay, and how about the person who left, the father who left, the husband who left?
I think their generation, they were raised that when things get hard, they have to leave. When I can't provide, I have to go somewhere. When I can't be there for my family, I have to go. And that's not how I think our generation has been raised to believe.
Oh, really? Interesting perspective. Kevin, this is very critical here because as much as we're saying empower the boy child, support the man, we're seeing certain tendencies that are not leaving or are leaving a bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah, true. Thinking about it in terms of how I've seen more single mothers coming up and they're okay, they're fine, they're like, he left, we'll do this by ourselves. But I think sometimes we need to understand probably why this person left, because there's always a reason to something. And most times we hear alienda too, but we've not figured out, probably he was going through a hard time that no one took time to listen. And I'm not saying he was right by leaving or they were right by leaving, but I'm simply saying that at times we need to hear also and hear why this had to happen. And I know many young men who grew up with their mothers, one, they become protective over the ladies, okay? Because this is someone they've known to, like, when they see a lady, this is like a mom. So they try and protect them, which most times dudes are like, huyu sasa, the mama syndrome. Sorry to say that. And people start pointing fingers and saying, huyu squeezy. And even when you start showing the emotion, because you've been with your mom, you've seen her cry, meaning she's showing you that crying is fine. So when you start crying around your friends, they're like,
Mama's boy, eh?
Mama's boy. So you're being labeled, which it's not their fault, as Micah said. It's not their fault. It's where they grew up, how they grew up. And this is all they've seen growing up. Okay, so they've taken more from their mom rather than from their dad who's not there, who's not present at that time.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm asking this because the theme for this year is actually better relations between men and women for the International Men's Day. And David, the reality of single homes is so much more today. Whatever the reason is, the men and the women are okay walking away from this responsibility. How can we turn this around and perhaps, as Kevin has alluded to some of the reasons why, how can we ensure that the future generation, the Mikes of this world, keep these fundamental pillars of society intact?
Faith has got some wonderful talk there. What's her name? Faith?
Yeah, Nashipai.
Nashipai. She talks about coding. I want to take it a step further. Coding only becomes useful if somebody knows how to apply that code in society. Yeah, such that I've been coded to be able to handle society better. And if that is done well, it will not really matter whether a child grew up with two parents or one parent. If the child is coded right, I've had many friends who grew up with a single mother, and they're fine. That mother, kudos to whoever they are, did a wonderful job. Now, if I go another step further, we can also help in those situations. If you figure out you have a cousin who had a child out of wedlock, as a man, I would like to say, let me talk to my cousin and find out, how is your boy growing up? How can I chip in? Such that the men in society should figure out how to help boys growing up. And I think it goes beyond just, I don't care, why was she in this problem, but we need to figure out these boys need help. A boy is the only thing God has to make a man. So we need to make sure that these boys are coded right. We need to make sure these kids know how to fit in the society. Men can be useful. Women are useful on the emotional side. Men are useful on the side of being a role model, on the side of encouraging these single mothers as well. I think they also need to be encouraged. A lot of guys, sidestep them. Yeah, like you're the plague. No, they need to be, talk to them, take them out, befriend them. Such that when they are emotionally stable, guess what? It will infiltrate to the boy at home. He will be, because when a mother is uptight, my goodness, even the cat runs out of the way. It's terrible at home. So if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So that's one way we can help in that situation. Another way we can help, I think, is for men, this thing of mentorship. There's the church I go to, the pastor's son teaches Sunday school, and the son is in campus. And I think to myself, what a wonderful way to influence boys. Teach Sunday school. Because when you're born, the nurse is a woman, your grade teacher is a woman, woman, Sunday school. So if they just see a man teaching Sunday school, wow, that's role modeling. And that's helping to code these guys to have the proper perspective that it's not ladies who only teach Sunday school or a nurse or whatever. So coding so that they can reach the society in a good manner.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking, Gladys.
All right. Very well said. Let's take some more of your feedback. Again, we are throwing this back to you. Which man or man would you like to celebrate today and why? That hashtag is new normal. And we have some of your feedback. If we can have that on the screen. Adamso, celebrating Odek and Mike for being great mentors in their environments. Thank you for watching. Another here from Walesa Bernard who says, good conversation, we are really suffering silently. That's why tunasema pia wanaume wajiseme. Alafu Betty Moretti here says, watching my friend Faith Nashipai, your passion in advocating for men is evident. Keep doing what you're doing. Indeed, men are emotional beings. Thank you. That hashtag is new normal. Now, I like the way people today are being shy about saying this, but they know they have a lot to put out there. So somebody just DM'd me and said, please, let's have a conversation about a generation of men, as much as we are saying we are all empowered. But men who are taking a step back and saying, Ata mimi naeza ekwa. A man who is kept. Aye, Kevin, I can hear you laughing. Please tell me, how did we get here? Because there's a whole generation of men who are very comfortable about that.
I think it comes from a place of men fearing to take responsibility. And they think the easiest way out. Because I don't think when we go back to the Bible where it says Adam had to toil. He was given responsibility. And many men are shying from taking responsibility simply because they think there's an easier way out. Okay? And it's not the right way to go, because as much as we need the emotional part of our lives, we need to be heard, to be loved, we also have a responsibility as men. Okay, one is to take care of your family, protect your family, provide for your family as much as you can, as much as even your wife is working, but also you need to bring something on the table, not her bringing something on the table and you're just chilling and waiting and saying, yeah, let's do this. And that's why we're even getting people saying, kuna wanaume tu wanapenda kuwekwa, which shouldn't be there, because when you look at even from the beginning of the Bible, you see men working. We don't see them chilling and saying, my wife will go out and bring it, and then, so it's something that has come out now simply because we want the easiest way out. We're thinking, see, for the years it's been ladies chilling, they're like stay-home moms, so why not a stay-home dad? So we tend to shift the responsibilities here and there, which is not the right way to do it. Yes.
Okay, let me hear from Mike, because a lot of those perhaps fall in your age group where they're like, it's okay, I can just chill and be kept and be the one who looks pretty. And it's unfortunate, but that's the reality today. But the question here is, you are an entrepreneur. Do you ever fathom a time where you can actually say that you're kept?
No, I don't think that's something I'd personally be comfortable with.
Why?
I have also aspirations. I have dreams. I wanna be on TV and be on Forbes for achieving something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the guy who's just at home. But I think the thing with my generation is some people come from families where their mothers are the breadwinners, and they see their dads just at home and their moms working and coming home with everything, and they're like, hey, dad's life is really nice. I want to be like him.
So we actually have men who are doing this and modeling the same to their sons.
I feel like, yes, that's true.
Oh, wow, that is quite a twist to this plot, David. I see the look on your face.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, we are looking at the tip of the iceberg here. First of all, these people who are keeping men, they had a need in life, and the way they get that need is to buy it. The way to buy it is get this young man, provide his deed, and I can keep him. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there's a breakdown in morality in the world. Basically, it's a breakdown. The society has gone haywire, the roles have been mixed up, everything is fuzzy, so anything goes. And I think in all of that, then there also comes in the issue of women get jobs easier than men. So a man has tried, he's looked up and down, and so nothing doing. So one day he finds a lady who says, what's the problem? I can take care of you. Oh, is that right? So some young men, a few that I've counseled, stumbled onto it. Yeah, they didn't plan that I'm going to be kept. They stumbled onto it. So that's part of the society break that I'm thinking about. These keepers also had a need, and they're buying the need from this person who found themselves there. Very few men will go out saying, I'm going to be kept. Many of them end up into it because I've written 500 applications, and they all told me, don't call us, we'll call you, kind of thing. And so there are no jobs. So it is easy to end up that way. It's a temptation that a man has to fight. I like what Mike has said. He has got a plan, he has got a vision, he's going somewhere. So this is not even something he wants to consider.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Faith, what do you think about this? Because again, you're raising 3 sons.
Foundations. Parenting, where we are talking about the parents of today who want to raise couch children. You want to have house girls throughout, or house helps throughout. Your children don't even know how to wash themselves, let alone just wash their knickers. It is really wrong. I think it is important that every child is taught how to take care of themselves. Independent skills are very critical to any human being. Those are part of survival skills. My sons are 18, 16, and turning 16 in January, and a 13-year-old. And all of them can cook. All of them can go to the market and buy food. All of them can clean up the house. I don't have to hire someone to wash their clothes. They can wash their own clothes. So these are the basics. Why I talk about foundations? These are the foundations. We have lost our foundations as families today. We don't want to train our children, and parents don't want to play the part of training their children. 2, the issue of single mothers. Who are these people who are keeping young men? Let's be honest. I think we just need to open up and be very genuine and very honest with ourselves. Who are these people who are keeping these young men? Most of them are women who are established, women with big jobs, women with, Auntie Waharia, the likes of, So clearly, why are we not being honest and genuine to ourselves as women and saying, yes, I'm a single woman, but I have needs? Instead of me going to someone who's the equal age of my son, let me go for someone who is as single as I am, but a man. I think it's only fair for us to look at society and stop changing our social systems to fit us. because we think that it is better for us. Because when you go to an equal man, he doesn't want to be kept. He has his own, like Mike is saying, he has his own vision. There is somewhere that he's going, so he has to fit. You either fit in there or you work together so that you can fit in each other's schedule. But now the problem is when you go to a lesser person, that is actually gender-based violence. Because, and I talk to communities. There's a time I went to Nyeri, and I was told young boys do not want to work. They want to go with women who have it. So they are being kept by women. You think this is an issue of Nairobi? This is an issue even in our Ushago, in this country. I do a lot of men forums at community level, and this is a big problem. It's a problem in waiting, where our young generation doesn't want to work. They just want to go with women who have resources. I think we need to train our sons. And I like what David said. David said mentorship. I believe in men mentoring other men. I'm forming community forums. I'm actually in the process of establishing, with the support of UNFPA, we are forming county men forums. Because we want men, every man in a county, to be part of those men forums and to be able to support younger men who are coming up. Because I believe that every man has something to give to another man. So for me, I want to say that if we were to mentor our young men, I don't think we would be having this kind of a problem. So culture, again, is a problem. We have changed our culture. Our culture is just a different whole story right now. We need to go back to our building blocks and be genuine with ourselves. Na kama ni kushika culture, we shika culture in the right way. We don't shika culture that is patriarchal, that is a bottleneck to development and a bottleneck to anybody in the society. We need to align and look at culture in the right way. Thank you. Back to you, Gladys.
That is a great place to actually take a break. When we come back, Nashipai had actually mentioned that next week we'll start marking the 16 days against gender-based violence. And this is actually in a way relating to the theme of the International Men's Day, which is men relating with women. So we answer that question: how can men harness their role as a protector and not the aggressor? Let's talk about that in a moment. It is your world. My name is Gladys Gachanja, still in the same space with these gentlemen: David Othuno, who is mentor and life coach and navigators; Calvin Odek, Men Let's Talk; Mike Langat, who is a student and co-founder; Pine Kazi; and of course Faith Nashipai, who is a founder and executive director of Thriving Families Kenya. Thank you all for being part of this conversation and being so candid about it, because I think it's about time we called a spade and not a big spoon. Yeah. All right. So the theme for this year, as I've mentioned earlier, is better relations between men and women. And we are walking into the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. The unfortunate truth, according to statistics, is the aggressors are men more than there are women. Kevin, what does this say? Or what does this tell you?
That we are at a bad place, okay? And some of it is men crying out for help, okay? And it's not time to be silent in terms of, even as they do that, this is like more of someone reacting to something. And they need help to sort out whatever they're going through. And the only easiest way to do it is through that, whoever the person is close to them. And coming to think of it, I'm just trying to think, probably these people do not even have somewhere they can go and someone to talk to. They're an island, walking by themselves, trying to figure out life by themselves. And the closest place to pour the outburst is the wife, the lady around them, which shouldn't be the case. Because if a man walks by himself, then he's most likely to fall more times than when he walks in with other people. And so when I hear that, that's a cry for help, okay, that needs to be attended to. With no saying, pulling out the men and saying, you men, but saying, how can we help in order to sort out whatever you're going through or be part of the solution? Yeah.
Okay. And perhaps now that we were saying a lot of what defines a man today, whether it's even the roles they play, a lot of it is, you know, in the socialization they got growing up. Mike, for you, when you hear this, what comes to mind and what do you think they're depicting?
I feel like, as David said, bad mentorship. If you're raised in a way where you know women are empowered and you know that we have to coexist together. For example, my background is that, for example, dad used to pay fees and mom used to buy things in the house. And that's how I knew it was. And that's how I feel like my family will be. Because I was mentored in a way where I know there are my roles and there's roles that the women will play. So I wouldn't resort to violence when one of those is missing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's give you a practical example here. We are in the COVID times. As Nashipai mentioned, a lot of people have lost their livelihoods. A lot of men are home, not, you know, don't have something to, you know, bring home or provide for their families. So the roles kind of change. You find the woman is the one now who's going to look, not necessarily because he doesn't want to be, because circumstances are such. And in that circumstances, we have seen that the rise of gender-based violence around this season also rose because of those factors, the stresses that the pandemic has brought. So if you are in that situation, what have you been mentored to do if you feel you're stuck?
I feel like I would find an outlet. For someone my age, we grew up with the internet around. So there's various ways that I can go online and find things to do, like either something that brings money or something as a hobby. Like, for example, I learned how to edit videos, and I've been editing videos for our church ever since COVID started till now. And it's something that's comfortable for me to do.
Okay. All right. Now, David,
Yes.
this is a big issue.
It is. It's a big issue. A lot of okay, one way that problem is perpetrated, like Kelvin has said, is through frustration, pressure. And I think you've also alluded to it, pressure. However, if you go a little deeper below the surface, fatherlessness is a problem. Fatherlessness. A friend of mine went to the demand prison in industrial area, and many of them are there because of robbery with violence, whatever. And he was speaking to them. He was actually preaching, and he asked towards the end, how many of you here grew up without a father? And almost all the hands went up. So that told him something. Fatherlessness is an issue. The other thing that I also think is a problem, that fatherlessness many times produces people who have this spirit of rejection. I'm rejected, I'm not wanted, dad never wanted me, dad never wanted mom, look at. And one of the key outlets for a rejected person is a short fuse. And that short fuse, usually there's anger, there's temper, there's rage, there's violence. It's uncanny. It's as though you can draw that line. If I've got rejection and fatherlessness, even in school I had a friend who, it didn't take long before he socks you on the cheek. Because you said something that he thought was so innocent, so simple, but he took it in a bad way. So for me, those are the deeper issues I'm seeing. And Faith also alluded to the mix of society. Society is so jumbled up. And a man is more physical than a woman is. So naturally, if a man cannot speak, because women are better at speaking than men, the next thing to do is to beat this lady. Beat her into shape, because that's all I have that this lady doesn't have. So sometimes people are pushed into that kind of violence. Even somebody who's sane, who's normal, can be pushed into that kind of a violence. That can be brought about by what Mike has said, the issue of the COVID. People are staying home. You're in this environment with the children. Of course, people will fight. But if you look at it deeper, people who are wife beaters, 9 out of 10, you'll find there were childhood issues. One of them fatherlessness, one of them rejection. Yeah.
Okay, so how do we address this?
Wow. Now that's even a more difficult one. But I think back to where we started, men must be helped to know how to talk. You know, Gladys, if I had a wish, many wishes, but if I had a wish for the government to solve this thing, would be for the government to sponsor talks. Government to sponsor activities where at the end men are allowed to talk. And Faith also alluded to it, that she is going to be having something soon where she called it county men forums. Wonderful. So that guys express, the reason I hate this woman is because of A, B, C, D. Well, that has saved somebody a few blows, just being able to say that, you see. So if we can do that, that is good. We also need to encourage organizations to invite people to talk to their men. Number 3, I think it is also helpful for our men to begin to go to the schools, boys' boarding schools or even day schools, and talk to those kids. Yeah, try to diffuse that bomb, even at that early stage, talking to them. So the kid can say, oh, so a man can actually do this. And oh, so men can actually open up and talk. I think it's critical at that stage. I would also like to challenge pastors. Why is it that the men's budgets are normally the smallest in a church? Why? Why can't we increase the budget? Number 2, when those who do have budgets, like I mentioned when we started, it's not only Nyama Choma and going out for movies and stuff. Can we have somebody report on what was discussed? Yeah. So we need to go a step further when that is being done. And if this is done, the gender-based violence will reduce. Yeah. And I want to talk to the men who are watching. Let us treat women in a dignified way. And when we find that the woman is out talking us, go out and run around the block 2 times, come back and continue listening. So I think we need to respect the women. We cannot solve this issue that men are struggling with right now by ourselves. We need the women. In as much as women need us, but we also need, people think, I don't need this woman. That's a lie from the devil. We need one another. Man and woman, God created us so that we can run the society. If either misses, then the society is just going to go off the cliff.
God forbid. And that's why we have a female amongst us. Nashipai, your thoughts?
Exactly.
Mainly is, I keep asking in the issue of gender-based violence, who is the aggressor? Especially when looking at domestic violence. Who is the aggressor? Because to me, Gladys, I think it takes 2 to tangle, it takes 2 to fight. In a big way, women have decided to be aggressors but passive people. Because when someone is calling you names, when someone is beating you and you decide, I'm going to keep quiet, and you don't say as it is and as it should be that this is not the right way that this relationship should go, then you're also a perpetrator. For the men, I saw something about a man in Meru whose system was cut off. That is genital mutilation, which is very wrong. It is gender-based violence. And men are also going through a lot of gender-based violence. I know 16 days are looking at gender-based violence meted on women and girls, but the reality is that men are also going through very nasty ways of gender-based violence. Now, women in our age will give men a Cold War. Sex to a man is a very critical bit of him. So he's denied his conjugal rights. The same man is supposed to be providing, and maybe he's lost his job, and he's having all these accusations at the same time. So all these are part of ways of causing gender-based violence in the family. Now, that is why I keep asking, who is the aggressor here? Because men may not be able to talk because we never taught them how to speak. So the only time that he saw language passing is a punch from his father to his mother. So what does he do? Now that he's a grown man and he's facing the same challenges, he knows how to fight. Can we teach our men how to become the right kind of people? Can we teach them how to express themselves? I can never overemphasize on that, because that is the bottom line. Number 2, I like what David is saying. Give men an opportunity to talk. At Thriving Families, we have a program we call Men's Bandari, and we go to the community and we allow men to speak about their issues. These are forums that are controlled. We only have men getting in there because this is a men's space. This is an environment purely for men. And that way men are able to heal amongst themselves. The other thing I would want to call upon government, gender budget. I know people are calling on more gender budget for women and girls, but I will say we do not have gender budget for men and boys. Can we have more of gender budget for men and boys across board, whether it is at the national or the county government? The other thing I would want to say is let us have a specific approach to the mental health of men. I know we are having a mental health action plan. I know, yes, the mental health report was positioned the boy child as someone who's a special population. But I also want to say that we need more resources on matters to do with the mental health of men. We also need programs. I am having a program where we are partnering with, again, UNFPA, and we are talking about Nitasimama Imara. The man has to stand firm. There's just too much in the society that is pushing the man down. But even in all this, I call upon every man to stand firm. Sema na mimi nitasimama imara, because with that, we are going to save our society, we're going to save a generation. Today, we have programs that are being financed for men. And I thank God for that. I also look forward to our government coming in strongly and saying, yes, men have issues and we need to support them. I also advocate for matters to do with men, and I don't see a safe house for men. We have men who are being sodomized left, right, and center. We have young men who are being raped in schools, in our universities. We don't have all these opportunities for men that are taking care of them. Can we have opportunities? Can we create opportunities for men? Can our policies and our strategies also align men and put them as part of the agenda of development in this country? We have finances. Our financial systems, because of the affirmative action, has left men out. Why? Because we have the Women Fund, and when men go to the Women Fund, they are told that you have to be, the 1/3 gender rule has to apply. So you find in 15 men, you have, in 15 women, you have 3 men, and they are not holding any critical position in that chama. So at the end of the day, how do you expect men to survive in that environment? Can you give them something that is their own, something that they are going to own, and something that they are going to run with? I believe that way we are going to sort out our issues. Again, men, when we come to communities, own your development. Don't wait for people to come and support you. Support yourselves. And thirdly, and the last one is, men, be available for another man. This issue of men killing themselves because they tried talking to someone and someone spoke about his issues is totally wrong. When I give you my issues, please keep them to yourself. Support me as a brother. Stand with one another, because at this time in our country, we need to stand with one another. And please, patia mwanaume kaso aende ajitetee nayo kwake. Usiseme eti uko na so tano unapeleka kwako yote. If someone comes to you and says, brother, I need help, I need maybe some hunger for my family, just support him. Support a brother. It is just maybe just that one day that he has an issue. Men, learn how to support one another. Sometimes you're also enemies amongst yourselves. Take care of one another. Good. And tomorrow you never know, he might be the one to take care of you. Thanks a lot.
Good point there. I am sure Kelvin is having a field day because you have been in the mental health space and you know the struggle therein. But of course, the support, as she says, is what is lacking, right? Talk about that.
I'm grateful that we can have people talk passionately about mental health like that, about men. And I'm glad a few people have come along, Lancet, to help. They had the cause and they're like, yeah, let's do this. Guys, we need to do this together. People like BroCode, who are like, guys, we need to come together and do things and make this happen. because I think when you talk about mental health, there's so many issues around men, but the people don't talk about. Men go through depression every single day. Someone is going through a hard time. He doesn't know where to come out and say, you know what, I'm about to commit suicide today. But because when I come to David, I think David will look at me and be like, I don't think I'm the person to help you. And if we support each other, I think the greatest enemy we have is among ourselves, where we don't want to support each other. When I come to you, I'm not looking for, it's not about money, but it's just about you hearing and being there and listening. Because I've had people come and say, I went to someone, they did not even hear me out. But if we make it a culture of taking time out of your busy schedule and saying, I want to care for Mike. Mike has called me, let me leave everything for Mike. There's something Mike needs. I'll change, even probably just calling him and asking him, how are you doing? Will make a difference in Mike's life. That calling him and asking him, how are you, will even change it, probably the thing he was thinking about, probably committing suicide. He'll take a step back and be like, Odek has asked me, how am I? Because I don't think we get to hear that a lot. And if we get into that space and not just talk about, have real issues, talk about real issues that men can come and say, yesterday I got a call from, I got this loan and I got a call from the auctioneers and they're about to come to my house. And guys, I need your help. We are there, even if it's 100 bob, you're like, man, I don't have much, but this is what I have to sort out this. Then we'll make a difference out here with people. Yeah.
Okay, and of course, one of the objectives of the International Men's Day is to look into the well-being of men in whatever way, whether it's their health, their mental health, the physical and mental, and all aspects of that. Mike, maybe out of your personality, you're more open to speaking about where you're at, your struggles and all that. But not all guys are the same. Some personalities, my friend, ataka ngumu ataka nikubaya aje, you know. So in your own way, especially in that young generation, what have you found to work?
I feel like talking to them every day has worked. Because today we might be together and I'm like, how are you doing? And you're like, I'm just good. And tomorrow you're like, I'm good. You're tired of giving the same response. But there's that day you want to be okay. And you're like, you know what, Mike, today I feel sad because a friend of mine passed. And that's how they start talking to you.
Slowly.
Yeah, so it's not that the first day, or even if you've been friends for a while, they will not just out of the blue just come to you and talk to you about their feelings. You will have to be asking them, be concerned, like care about what they're saying for them to want to tell you what they're feeling.
So you've got to listen more than you're hearing. Okay, but you come from a generation that is driven by the digital space, you know. So you seem to have relationships on the phone, but really when something happens, like somebody dies by suicide, you're like, but we were just texting the other day. But there's a lot of facade relationships behind this. So how do you ensure that you maintain the face-to-face conversations?
I feel like the best way to do that is just be talking to them still. I have a group of friends where we call each other every week without fail. And you ask someone, how are you doing? And we don't give answers like, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm doing well. You have to really talk about how you're feeling. And I feel like this has worked for us a lot because right now I know so-and-so is struggling with this, and the rest of us can now get together and find a way of helping that person through the situation they're going through.
Now, David, the truth is, women, we are saved from ourselves because we speak. Anyone who can listen, we will tell our problems. Whether or not you have a solution, at least I let it out. But this is a struggle for the men. And as we have rightfully said here, this is something that they need to work on. But then again, what needs to happen, especially for those support systems within society, to literally cultivate that? I know you've talked a lot about let the men talk, but what do the men need to do for them to actually give life to that kind of space?
Acceptance is a big key in getting somebody to open up. If I feel accepted, I will speak. And one of the ways I found of letting somebody know that you accept them is for you to look for them. One of the things we do in our church is if somebody misses church, every one of us, the men, will call and find out, Nihao, what happened? Yeah, that's one way. Another way is just to just happen on somebody, you know, I'm coming to your place today, by the way. Yeah, and I come. But the old traditional way, I've brought a kaunga and a sugar and something. Say, hey, what happened? Yeah, I just thought of you today. That guy will open up and talk. You will not have to press any other button. So acceptance, I find, is critical. Also, when somebody talks to you, listen and don't be judgmental. How could you have done such a thing, bana? Yeah. Don't show shock and dismay and disgust when somebody is sharing, but just say, just say more. Yeah, I also went through that at one time. Yeah, good. Say some more. And so, encouraging people to talk, visiting them, and you visit with like something small. Like you said, if somebody is having a financial struggle, help where you can, like you said, Kelvin. So I think those to me are critical issues. If we can answer the question, by the way, whenever you go to somebody's home and you find a little boy of, say, 6, 7, maybe even 3, and they're looking at you, do you know the question they're asking? Does this guy accept me? Am I accepted? So the moment you say, hey, sasa namna gani habari? This guy does accept me.
This person sees me.
Yeah, they see me, they accept me. And that quest for acceptance, that need to belong, goes on as we grow up. Such that when you are an adult, you're also asking the same question at the back of your mind, does this guy really accept me? For a kid, it could be, am I loved? But when you're older, am I accepted? Once that has been answered, my goodness, communication will flow. That's what I've found.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. And I love the fact that we have been very candid about this because we needed to understand how men experience the world. Going by all the conversations that came out of the International Men's Day, clearly there's how the world looks at them, but then again, there's a way the man just wants to be accepted. And I love different conversations, even for men saying, at times I want to talk, then I remember what you're going to say about my situation or what you've said before. Then I just go back to my cocoon and find a way to deal with it. That is a reality of many men. And that's why we intentionally said we're going to not only celebrate them, but also hear them or listen to them this morning. And speaking of which, celebrating, I know this is not something that men are used to, but then again, if women are going to be getting flowers, Mother's Day, International Women's Day, Valentine's Day, now all the days in between.
My goodness.
I think they also can walk away with a bouquet of flowers and a gift that we put together. So Elsie can come into, she's the producer of the show, and would like to appreciate you, so Mike. Yes.
Thank you, Elsie.
Thank you very much.
I know these are some of the things you don't know how to deal with. Hata haujui vile ya kufeel nayo, but I know it doesn't end there. We still have some gifts for you. And what we are trying to do here is, if we are going to change the perception of how we look at men or how men carry themselves in society, we might as well break the barriers. So ukionekana na mausi sema umetoka kununulia mtu ni yako. Ni yako, and it is okay to actually be a little bit, you know, soft on the edges so that at least you're able to also roll with life, right? Okay. So that's also a gift to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now, our prayer to you and many men out there is that you feel accepted, you feel heard, you feel seen. Because, yes, life has changed on us. Perhaps morality is all over the place. We're all trying to find our footing. But may all the generations, and this was also intentional, to have David, who comes from a different generation from, you know, Kelvin, and of course Mike, to show that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how old you are or which generation you grew up in, we all have needs, and those needs actually need to be catered for. Now, Faith, I'd like you to just speak a word of encouragement to these men and others that are watching us today or are represented today.
Wow, thank you so much. First, to appreciate Nation Media for celebrating men. Happy Men's Day to the men that we have in studio and the men out there who are watching us and listening to us. Men, you are important, you are needed, you're very special. So at the end of the day, despite all that you have to go through, please remember that you're very, very special and very important, and we need you. And please remember this, that the zebra cannot be a zebra without 2 stripes. So I cannot be a zebra with only a white stripe as a woman in life. And you cannot be a zebra with only black stripes. So we need the 2 of us to exemplify the beauty that God created on earth. And that way, the society is going to be balanced. So thank you so, so much. I appreciate you all, and I appreciate every man out there. You are special, you are our heroes, and we love you so much. Back to you, Gladys.
Thank you, Faith, for being part of this conversation and coming to us last minute. I know I called you up yesterday, even though you were in Kajiado. You said this is something you cannot miss. We appreciate you too, and of course what you're doing for men and boys out there on behalf of thriving families. And for the men, again, we appreciate you. Thank you for coming through and having a candid conversation with us. Well, we leave it at that today on Your World, but tomorrow we shall be having another candid conversation, and this one is about that transition that comes with your careers. There are some people who feel, okay, fine, I've been doing this for a while, it's time for something else. Then you keep postponing it because you feel like you don't have what it takes to literally transition. The good news is you do have what it takes. You just need a little bit of strategy, and perhaps you'll have a soft landing. So how do we ensure we get this soft landing? We shall have a career coach with us in studio for that conversation. See you then.
Thank you.